is contact Beth. Well, actually, text any of the staff here. You could text Hayden if you've got his number, Jim if you've got his number, or Beth. You could text them. My phone is starting to have some feedback on the, I mean, you could text me, but I don't know.
It's not on Facebook yet.
It will be on, it's recording and then going. Remember, so it's not on yet, but what it is it's recording now. See, we have to explain this text stuff to non-tech people. You could come in Carolyn, and you can be a part of this if you'd like, too. You're welcome. But anyway, so if you have a question that you want to be a part of this conversation, we're only going to be on for half an hour, and this is just an opportunity for you to connect. We like to laugh, like to have a little bit of fun, too, just because we're a strange staff, so it just kind of works that way. But anyways, I'm trying to stall a little bit of time because it says that it's just about to start the broadcast, which it's already been started in recording purposes. So, guys, quick question before we get started. It was asked, if somebody were looking for a church like Brighton Chapel, what can people do? Like, what do we do to help them to connect to Brighton Chapel? What are some things that we could suggest to our people, to those that are connecting with others that are looking for a church? What are some things that we could do to point people to, like, how to check out things or how to know about us and how to, so I'm looking at you, Jim, because you're like ready to talk. So what are some things we could do?
You know me, I'm smiling because that's a technical question, and you're talking to the wrong person. I tell them I want to eat breakfast down at the Howe restaurant. I don't get myself. So I think that has to be answered by you, Beth or Hayden, as to how we're getting it out there. But
Sure.
got many ways that we're putting online.
Sure.
And so you guys will have to jump in there. So.
Sure. What do you think, Beth?
They can find out all about us on our website. Pictures, who we are, what we're doing as a church, what our outreaches are, when our services are. You can find out pretty much anything you want to know about our church there at www.brightonchapel.com.
Brighton what?
Brighton
Cha?
BrightonChapel.com.
Oh, I thought you said BrightonCha.com, and I was like,
She did say that.
Cha? Like, what's up with that? I mean, I just didn't know. Is somebody texting you already? They're already.
Someone is Marco Poloing. He might want a guest.
Oh, is it your spouse?
Shot.
Is it? Oh, Nate Mock is trying to talk.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, interesting. That would be interesting.
We'll look for Nate next week.
Yes. Okay, so now there's our website. There's also our Facebook page. And how do we help, and what other ways can we connect our people to the community? I know that we're out in the community doing things, but how do we make sure people are able, like, to connect? Maybe coming out to a church service and being able to see what's happening. We have 2 services, 9 and 10:30. And then but one of the safest ways I found is that people could check us out is through our website and watching online. People like to know kind of what am I getting into when I check something out like that. So that's the safest way that people can really see what's going on here. Any other way? Call us. You could always call the church and be able to talk to you, and you are a friendly voice that people can
When I
answer
speak
questions
articulately, yes.
with. So
If you have Beth's cell phone number, you can call her anytime, day or night, and she'll answer. So.
I will answer, however.
And if you need gas in your car, she will. No, I'm just kidding.
I will send Hayden your way every time you call.
Gotcha. Okay, so we want to get started. So if you're just tuning in, this is an opportunity for us to have a conversation. We want to have a candid conversation with just anybody in the church, anybody in the community that wants to come. You can be a part of it. It's kind of an unfiltered because we're not in control. This is not recorded, so we can't cut out people's questions or goofiness or whatever. So this is live, so this is a risk, and we have no idea how this will go, but we're having fun already. So we have a conversation. So if you want to make a comment on some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today, you can do that, and that would be simply contacting one of these 3. My phone, you can ask me on my phone, but it might not pay attention to it. That's kind of part of the problem.
Pastor Rustin, you think you might want to thank our guests for being here and introduce them to our crowd out there?
Oh, sure. We've got Scott, and we've got another staff member that's joining us today, and that's Carrie. So, anyways, welcome.
She's our favorite. She brought donuts today.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to get
Donuts
into
that I
this
can't
and right away because 30 minutes go really quick, and so I want to be a part of this. So today's topic is about censorship, and I think a lot of us have been talking about this, or at least been hearing about it. What's going to happen? And I'm really curious about Scott's perspective on this, especially in the legality of things, what people can actually do. Like, what can they do to censor us? But the idea is, you know, when President Trump was banned from Twitter, and I think Facebook, was it those two, he was banned from that, it led to a lot of questions as to, will we potentially become censored? I hear people all the time saying, Facebook isn't letting me be on it, but so you'll have to go to our YouTube channel. Is YouTube going to start censoring things? We don't know. But it's interesting, is it going to happen to the church? And what happens if it does? And what is our way of going to be able to handle that? How do we handle being censored and silenced? So I was thinking about this text, so just read it just to get it started here, this conversation. And who's gonna jump in after I read this? Who's gonna start talking about this concept of, are we gonna be censored? Anybody gonna jump in? Okay, well, you're gonna have to decide that. So when they saw the courage of Peter, this is Acts chapter 4, when they saw the courage of Peter and John and realized that they were unschooled, ordinary men, they were astonished, and they took note that these men had been with Jesus. But since they could see that the man who had been healed standing there with them, so the issue was, there was a man that was healed, they brought him before the Sanhedrin, and they had a problem with the scenario, and so they brought these guys, Peter and John, before them, and they were looking at this guy being healed, and they're dealing with Peter and John, and it says, but since they could see the man that had been healed standing there, there was nothing they could say. They couldn't refute that. This actually had happened. So they ordered them, this is Peter and John, so they ordered to withdraw from the Sanhedrin, and then they conferred together. What are we going to do with these men? They asked each other. Everybody living in Jerusalem knows that they have done an outstanding miracle, and we can't deny it. But to stop this thing from spreading any further among the people, we must warn these men to speak no longer to anyone in this name. So here you have censorship in the first century. I mean, this is Sanhedrin telling John and Peter that they are to not talk about Jesus. They're not to talk. Censorship, right there. Then they called them in and commanded them not to speak or teach at all. Now, this is interesting. It added teaching. So now we're not only talking about speaking about it, you can't even teach at all in the name of Jesus. But Peter and John replied, judge for yourselves whether it is right in God's sight to obey you rather than God. For we cannot help speaking about what we have seen and heard. And then it says this, after further threats, they let them go. Okay, so my question is this. We're living in a pretty strange time. Do you see this happening now? Or is the church potentially going to be censored? What do you think? Somebody jump in. Beth has got her mic. She's ready to go. What do you?
Beth is the one we're talking today. It's Hayden's turn.
That's Hayden's turn. Okay.
I mean, yeah. Like, I think the American church, especially within the next, few years, Christianity is going to be kind of looked at as, just looked at in total negative light. Like, we already see the traces. I know that, I know that most people, in our church tend to lean more to the right when it comes to the political spectrum. And the political right is already being, shut down on most platforms. Look at President Donald Trump, or even like other people on Facebook that I follow. Their accounts are being demonetized, or and everything. So I think that Christianity, as a concept, is soon to follow that, because this is just the first step. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist by any means at all, but I'm also not turning a blind eye to the facts of what's happening. Mm-hmm. I think that maybe not, it could be a year from now, it could be 5 years from now, but I think eventually Christianity is going to be not outlawed, but looked down upon to the point that we won't be able to talk about it. Online or on any social media platform, I'll say that. So if you're watching online, do you think so? Do you think the church is going to get to a point that we're going to be censored, where we cannot speak and or teach at all in Jesus' name? So you're saying social media maybe is going to be
maybe on the front line of things. Is that something, what do you guys think? Do you think it's going to happen in our day and age where the church is going to potentially be censored, especially with tech? What do you think? Jim, you're like totally, you're thinking, what's going on? Is it going to happen?
I don't know. When's Christ returning?
There you go.
We don't have the answer of when it will it or won't it. I only know one thing for me personally, is that even if it's censored online, you know, they take us off and we can't show to people that are not coming in-house, that doesn't stop my voice, or it shouldn't stop the voice of those that believe in Christ, just like it didn't stop them. You can censor a lot of ways to make it happen, but you can't censor the heart. And I look at it as that. I am still going to speak the gospel of Jesus Christ, whether it's through technology or through my voice. And if it comes down to tech, I can't do it with technology, I will continue with my voice. Mm-hmm. And that won't spread as far and as wide, but I would think that considering how many supposed Christians we have in this world or in this nation, if we all speak our voice, it'll still spread. You know, they didn't have technology back then, but it sure spread. And it spread by the voice of those that had seen and had heard. And I think that's what we got to make sure we continue to do every time we're in a public location and place, that we're having conversation, or we meet for breakfast, or we're just doing things. We have an opportunity to speak about our Lord Jesus Christ and what he has done. We should be speaking. And the louder we speak, the more it spreads. So, you know, because I'm not a tech guy. so I don't use this platform very often. That's just my feeling. You know, we will have a choice whether or not we spread the gospel or not.
Well, that's interesting that you took it from tech to then actually being in-house. Do you guys think that they will get to a point where tech seems to be less personal? Like, you can remove social media websites, you can ban domain names and say, you know, that you know, and shut them down. But that, like you said, that doesn't stop me from still. But then you took it to another place, which was in-house. Mm-hmm. So do you, Beth, I don't know, where do you think? Do you think it'll get to a point where they could potentially go from tech to, I mean, you've seen this, especially, you know, working here and stuff like that, that they've shut us down for a little bit of time. Do you see us going to a place where they would actually shut us down from actually gathering together?
I can see them trying to stop us, but like Jim said, we got to not stop. Somebody says there's no volume, by the way.
Reporter from UK.
No volume. Okay. No volume at all?
It just says no volume here.
Okay, did they turn their volume up? Just wanting to make sure.
If you can hear us, send us a quick text if you can hear us, or a message on Facebook.
So, interesting.
Are we censored already?
See, we're already censored. There we go. Okay, so is it and let me ask, do you want to ask, or do you want to check and see? Do you have yours on?
I just checked Carrie. So.
Do you want to turn it on? Sorry, we're making sure that, yeah, we have sound here. Is it perhaps maybe, do we know if anybody's watching, anybody on Facebook or anything?
Yeah.
If you're on Facebook, could you let us know if you actually can hear us, if you can hear all of us? That would be really great. So, yeah, that would be phenomenal. Just so we can make sure that we can hear everybody. So, you think, hold on here, let me see. Oh, see, yeah, we're hearing it. So, Carrie, I'm not sure what's going on. I'm so sorry. It's the UK, and they are banning us already. So we'll see. We have a couple people on here, and okay, we've got one that says, I think that censorship is not going to be a concern in the near future. See, we're already censored. There we go. Hold on here one second. Sorry, I need to turn this volume down. There we go. Here's something that was stated. I think that censorship is not going to be a concern in the near future for the church. The concern I see in the near future is being, stop, oh, here we go, forced pressure to manipulate our language for political correctness. We are already seeing in Congress that the terms brother and sister, and then it stopped right there. So yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother subject on stuff like that, and I know we got a little distracted. Time is going to get away. Judge, I would really like to know what you think about this. On a legal side of things, and I know that you're like, great, thanks, but can people actually, can we be censored? Like, do they have a right to do that, or what are your thoughts on that?
I need to approach this at different levels.
Sure, absolutely.
because I let my Indiana legal license into the retired status.
Yes, absolutely.
So I don't have an active license, so I can't give
Gotcha.
a legal definition. I can just
Sure. Your thoughts.
give you my thoughts
There you go.
as a layman would.
So if you can make sure, yeah, just keep it up there. Thank you, just so we can hear you.
When I practiced law, I represented several missionaries that raised millions of dollars a year to provide material aid to communist countries behind the Iron Curtain. I've spoken to multiple ministers that came from communist countries and were attacked violently and imprisoned for years until God intervened and their freedom was purchased. So the worst side of things says that freedoms of speech certainly can be restricted to a point of imprisonment. It depends on what laws the nation invokes. Those communist answered that restriction of speech by having underground churches.
Yeah.
No buildings. They would meet in woods or in basements.
Yeah.
Similar to the first century church.
Yes.
So can it be done? Absolutely.
Wow. Never thought about that. That especially we've got a recent, somewhat recent history of censorship that's right before our very eyes in another country that could potentially come this way.
We're standing on the precipice of disaster for freedoms if we're not careful.
Yeah. Is there anything that people can do? I mean, people almost feel powerless. It's almost like we almost have to, like these guys, their answer was, well, judge for yourselves whether it's right in God's sight to obey you rather than God, for we can't help but speak what we have seen or heard. So it didn't stop them from at least communicating it while, things may be shut down. It still didn't stop the church from moving forward.
And I think they felt that, as Jim alluded, there's a God in prisons.
Yeah,
We're covered by his blood.
That's right.
Wherever we go. And
that's right.
so that the worst sin we might do is to become so fearful of man's rules and physical beatings that our voice is silenced.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. As a parent, Carrie, what you've got with censorship and stuff like that, it's going to obviously potentially affect schools and what's being said, what's being done. As a Christian and as a mother, and you've got your girls going to school and being exposed to stuff, while you got a great school that you go to, we're not going to say what school that is just because,
We can.
no, we're okay. We're in Lakeland territory. We keep you on the... We'll just leave you on the
message me
west side
later.
of the county. No, I'm just kidding. But how does it feel to know censorship? I mean, going down to the removal of things, like even like that, like this guy was saying on our feed, changing, gender and stuff like that. things are changing, and how does that impact you as a mom, and some of your concerns about how your kids are being influenced by the culture, especially through the school system? No offense to any school system, just how do you deal with that? How do you, as a mom, and speak for Nate too, because I'm sure, because he's not here.
Because if he wants to speak for himself, he knows how to get here.
Yeah.
I think I don't want to say it puts more responsibility on us as parents, because ultimately the responsibility falls on us. But in this day and age, we can't depend on the school to teach our kids what we want them to learn. And I've always said, halfway jokingly, I pray every day that God never leads me to be a homeschool mom. That's not me. However, in the past year or so, it's there. Like, at the drop of a hat, I need to be ready to bring my kids home. Like you said, at this point, I don't really have any fears. The school
Sure.
that my kids are in,
Yeah.
I know their teachers, I know their friends. I think that I know what they're being taught. But there are certainly things happening that make me question it. But it puts me in a position where I am sure to ask my kids more questions than I would maybe otherwise. Like, what did you learn from this specific? They watch news every day.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily agree with that 10 minutes of the day. But it also allows me the opportunity to question them. Like, well, what was talked about? What do you feel about that? What are people saying? And then Nate and I are able to share our opinions.
Yeah.
And our beliefs and why we believe what we believe. So I think you can take anything negative like that and turn it positive. And
Absolutely.
You can grow your children and your family that way.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. It doesn't mean we necessarily have to run. Because at some point, we can't run from society. We're here to reach them. And that's why they're not leaving. They just might have things shut down and removed from our ability to influence. Technology is nice to be able to influence people. Like Carrie, welcome Carrie, we're glad you're with us. It says that you got some volume there, so that's awesome. But here, technology helps Carrie because Carrie's in the UK. So, and we pray for you daily. No, we love you, we're just kidding. We love our UK brothers and sisters. So, but the thing is, oh, no, you're shaking your head. No, we don't. Hayden's over here. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So anyways, but technology can go away. In-house church can go away. But like Judge was saying, and like you were saying, Jim, and like you're saying, Carrie, even at home, you can't stop personal influence. And at that point, could we see where they threaten, because literally it says they threaten them. It says after further threats, they let them go. Could we potentially face threats in our lifetime to not speak or teach about Jesus? Do you see it as a possibility in our day and age?
Yeah, I do, and I think another possible threat too is maybe less on like the physical side of things like that. But like, I think we're in a day and age where especially with social media, we compare ourselves to other people a lot. That's basically what social media is for nowadays, just seeing what other people's life is like, and then we subconsciously compare it to ours. And so we deeply care about what other people think of us. And so the social norm is going to kind of turn into, don't talk about that, or else you're going to be like, disgraced. Like we're not going to talk to you. You're not going to be included in us. And I think that's going to be what the real fear is. Not necessarily physical beatdowns, but caring and wanting to fit in with this world. And I think that's something we need to recognize. We're never going to, as true Christians, we're never going to truly be able to fit in with this world. And so I think the threats aren't necessarily. I think there will be absolute threats of violence. But I think the one that we're going to be watching out for is really the threats of being socially cast out. So,
Beth, you've been a little quiet. You're usually talkative. What's going on over there? What's happening?
I don't want to be censored.
Well put. I guess that calls it for the day. You cannot censor me. Well, we've tried to censor you even in the office, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't.
She is not the one we try to censor.
Yeah.
Hey, you got a minute?
Because usually a minute's not a minute.
No. Yeah, inside tip. If Rustin asks you if you have a minute, tell him no, because 2 hours later, that minute is not wrapped up yet.
And we usually close the door just to let Beth think that we're talking.
Actually, I let them think that it bothers me that they close the door, but I can get my work done way better when they're off doing their thing.
Oh, well, this is good. I know that this is a conversation that a lot of people are thinking about, especially as of late with President Trump being shut down and with social media and stuff like this. There is fear, and I don't necessarily want to be driven by fear. I would rather be driven by like I'm prepared. I like to be prepared. So like if there was something, what can we do, or what do you think we could do? I'd like some of your suggestions as a church. What could we do to stay connected or have influence in our community if social media was shut down? If our website was let's just say tech. If tech is shut down, how do we use our influence? If the church, if we're forbidden, if they put armed guards in front of our doors, and again, I don't see that happening, but you never know what's going to happen in this world. We can't meet in this building. What can we do to influence this community still as Brighton Chapel, as a church family? So what do you think?
Can't use this one?
No, that one doesn't work.
Oh, that one is not working?
They can't hear.
Oh, the white
I like
one isn't
it better
working.
when I use that one because they can't hear me.
That's fine.
So I'll ask this question to you and all the audience out there. Do you know your neighbor? How many of you actually physically understand and know your neighbor? Do you know their name? Do you know their kids' names? Do you know what they do for a living? Do you know their needs? Because the majority of people out there don't. You have a neighbor you wave to, but you've never met him. You've never spoken to him other than hi or a quick second. So when we talk about tech being gone, I remember growing up as a kid, we didn't have tech to communicate, so we always just went to visit. We went to talk to people. We went to learn to understand who our neighbors were. And back then, I wasn't a Christ follower back then, but I still like to know who was around me and how to make friends. And I think if he comes away from that, we better be prepared to be able to go visit and understand who our neighbors are and what their needs are. We weren't created as human beings to be alone. I think you look back in Genesis, God said that. It's not good for Adam to be alone. So therefore he created Eve. Well, he created it because we have a want with it built inside of us from God to be a community and to help and be around others. And there's a want to do that. And somewhere along the last 2,000 years plus, we've lost that. We've become loners, and we're okay just sticking with our own family and our own little world. Other than once or twice a week, we get out and join another community like a church community. But I think you're going to have to start reaching out further than that, especially as technology starts demanding different things from us.
Yeah, I like that idea of who is our neighbor. We have people that are connected to us, and so we want to make sure that we're doing that. And then the idea is all this stuff isn't taken away yet. So my thought is I see people are leaving Facebook. And again, I'm not a huge Facebook fan. So if you're watching Facebook, we love you. We're just kidding. We're not a huge Facebook fan. I'm not, but I still have it. And my plan to be on it is because I want to use it as a tool. I will use it as a tool to show people Christ and to keep the gospel in front of them if they're going to be on it. A lot of people are leaving and they're saying, I'm going to go over to MeWe, or I'm going to go over to Parler, I think is the other one, and there's
Can't go over to Parlor now.
and now Parler is in the process of shutdown and stuff. So, and then I think there's another one. I don't remember what the other one was, but people are leaving these things, and it's almost kind of like we could leave society, but we're called to be the light of the world. Jesus is the light. He lives inside of us, and we're called to be in the world, not of it, but in the world, showing the light. So we want to continue to do that. Part of that is we have this at our fingertips. We have got to use it. And until it's taken away. And that goes back to our conversation last week is we have the ability to be in person, and we need to take advantage of that as long as we're able to do that. And again, we're not trying to shame anybody, but the idea is get back in. We had a number of people here on Sunday, largest attendance since October. Part of it is the new year, so everybody's getting back. But the other part is that we had some people that said, I'm gonna get back to church starting in the new year, which is great. And we're hoping that we could get more and more of our people back in house. So until then, we have technology. We're going to use it. We're going to have a lot of fun, and that's what we've got. So great job, everybody. Way to go. Any final thoughts, Beth? As we
See you next Wednesday.
see you next
Come
Wednesday.
sit with us. Carrie will